Hey everybody, Kyle Goethe here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel with my first reaction to the new 2022 film, The Invitation. This is not to be confused with the 2015 Karyn Kusama film, The Invitation. In fact, this film had a title before. I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it was like The Bride or something like The Bride, which is way more in tune with what the film is. There is no invitation in this movie. I mean, our main character is invited to a wedding, but she's invited by a person. She's not actually given an invitation. It's neither here nor there, but I just noticed the poster for the film does have an invitation on it. I don't understand that at all. Anyway, this is a movie that is a complete mixed bag to me. If you don't know the plot, it's simple enough. Woman takes a DNA test, finds out she has distant relatives in England, gets invited to a wedding, and then finds out that her invitation to the wedding, I guess, her going to the wedding is more than just to meet the family. There is a sinister purpose, and I'm going to leave it at that because I think it's obvious from about 20 minutes into the film what she is going to find there. If you are a fan of the horror genre, if you can catch the little details that are there. Let me say this, it's an extreme mixed bag, and what I mean by that is there's some things that this movie does very well, and there's some things that this movie does horribly, and that's kind of the disappointing part about it. So let me just start by saying the main character, played by Natalie Emmanuel, I love Natalie Emmanuel. I think she is great in Game of Thrones. I think while she doesn't serve a lot of purpose in the Fast and Furious movies, she adds to them. She is a good part of the family in that film series. And I think what I've seen from her is really great, and I think she's great in this movie for what she's given to do. The writing for her character, Evie, is not great. It's good in places and it's bad in places. It's just, again, mixed bag. She's written as kind of contradictory in a way where she doesn't really see herself, she doesn't really see herself challenging the status quo, but then she challenges a lot of the status quo in an area that she's not really used to being in. So there's some complications there. The film, if you don't want to know anything else about this film, leave it at that, because I'm going to break into some of the things that I think are obvious from the trailer, but if you don't want to know anything more, I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that I felt from the trailer. The whole thing is she's going to this wedding, and it's very obvious that she's going to this wedding to become a vampire bride. And there's so many references to the Dracula story in the film, which is interesting. Like, when she arrives, she's being told that she's arrived at New Carfax Abbey. That's a little on the nose, and it's fine. I would have just called it New Carfax, because when you call it Carfax Abbey, any Dracula reader is going to be like, oh, snap. But that's fine, neither here nor there. She's introduced in that way, and then we start to meet people that seem like they're connected to characters from Dracula, but they don't serve a purpose other than just being a name. It's just a simple reference. Instead of really serving a purpose to the narrative, there's a lot of mythology to the film, and it just feels weird that a film is so beholden to the Dracula mythos. Not just vampire mythos, but to the Dracula mythos. That they honor that in some ways, but then they also go completely against grain in other ways, where I'm not sure if this is a universe where Dracula the book exists, and maybe it's a fictionalized account of what really happened, or if this is a universe that doesn't feature the knowledge of vampires. It's kind of like zombies and zombie movies. I don't know. But there's a building up of mythology that stops at a certain point where I wanted to know who a lot of these other characters in the film were, and they didn't really tackle that. There's other nitpicks just with the logic of the film. My other big problem with this movie is the sound design and the lighting. The sound design for this film is atrocious. It's the kind of movie that uses sound design to create jump scares where you just had mood and tone before. There's some tonally creepy stuff going on throughout this movie, and then they hit you with some of the loudest sound design jump scares I've ever heard in a movie. It hurt my ears, some of the stuff that I heard in the theater here, and maybe it was just my theater, but I don't think it was, because the rest of the sound was fine. The sound design, though, for these jump scares, it was unnecessary, because you see something creepy in the shadows, you see something odd going on, and that's fine, but then you get a jarring sound, that it's kind of music but kind of not, and it kind of kills the enthusiasm, because it's just loud and jarring, and it ruins the mood and tone of some of the scares. Also, with the lighting, the film is way too dark. I think they were going for a dark tone or dark visual aesthetic, but it's too dark at times. So that's my biggest problems with the movies. Things that are good, I think there's an interesting mythology that's broached that continues to develop as the film goes on. I like that it kind of sells itself as a romance film first and then digs into other things. Some of the romance stuff is a little hackneyed, but it works well enough. It's a film that I think didn't stick the landing. And the final scene of the movie, the epilogue of the film, is atrocious. So it's kind of just that mixed bag of things I really wanted to work and things that did kind of work for a good bulk of it until they didn't. And then some stuff that I could see what they were going for just wasn't successful. So it's a very mixed bag. I think it will appeal to some people. That's why I'm giving it an okay. I don't think it's the worst thing I've ever seen by far. There's some well put together bits and pieces of the movie, and there's some really bad pieces of the movie. It's just a mixed bag and that kind of stuff. So I was okay on the movie because some of the stuff worked well enough that I think it's worth checking out, but I don't think it's a movie that's going to stick with me past this viewing. You know, in a couple of years, I might forget that I'd seen it. Let me know your thoughts about The Invitation down below when you see the film. I'd love to hear more thoughts about it. I think it is a movie that will work for some people, and I'd like to hear if you're one of them or if you don't like it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There are 2 free things that you can do that help support my channel and make sure you never miss new episodes of the show as they drop. You can find goatfilmreviews.com for my written reviews. You can go to Goat Film Reviews on Facebook. You can follow me personally at Almighty Goatman on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. And you can find my show, The St. Paul Filmcast, find my show, The Kyle and Nick on Film, that I co-host with Nick Plotchuk from the St. Paul Filmcast. We have new episodes Mondays, Thursdays, and Scary Movie Saturdays. You can find all those links down in the description, and we'll see you next time.